Welcome to the Uncensored podcast. My name is Aqsa, and today I'm going to be covering the topic of dealing with heartbreak. So heartbreak comes in many forms. We sometimes think heartbreak automatically means a breakup with a boyfriend or girlfriend, which can be true, but it can also be a breakup with your best friend, losing an opportunity you worked really hard for, or even a fight with a loved one that changes the way you perceive your relationship with them. It can be a really tough period to go through because the emotions can be all-consuming and difficult to navigate whilst being expected to show up in practical life. Some people can overcome the heartbreak in a short period of time, whilst for others it may take years. It's even more challenging for people who might not have the luxury to take time off work, have money for extra therapy sessions, or rely on their parents to show up for them. As someone going through a recent heartbreak and still amidst the healing, I thought I would share some strategies and advice on coping. I just want to make a disclaimer that there is no one way to heal, as what helps one person might not be effective for another, but these are some great psychologically proven strategies for healing. The umbrella term for healing, I would say, is don't suppress your feelings. Feel every single one of them, because once you feel them all, you'll know how to process them and minimize how much they consume you. This is actually a mistake I made. So distracting myself with hobbies, work, meeting new people, and all these impulsive projects. I was convinced that I was making moves and that I was resilient. I am resilient, but during this phase, I needed to give myself the time to just process all the complex emotions. Suppressing and ignoring emotions or convincing yourself that you're fine only prolongs the recovery process. You may find yourself being triggered in the most random moments, or when you're faced with something that reminds you of the reason for heartbreak. And then the realization hits. Oh, I'm not okay as I thought. True healing lies in finding peace and emotional freedom, where the intensity of pain no longer controls your life, and more importantly, it doesn't control you. So the real question is how? How do you feel your feelings? Well, here are some great strategies that I've found. So the first one would be journaling. So writing out your feelings with a free hand, no matter how intense, negative, or complex they may be. Don't hold back or think too hard. Just keep writing what comes to your mind. Release all those hidden emotions and you'll soon realize how many subconscious thoughts surface and how many dots you are able to connect. And that leads to self-discovery. It's also a great stress relief as it calms your mind and provides an outlet to release all the feelings that are clouding your mind. If you're struggling to write with a free hand, you can source journal prompts online that can help pinpoint what to address, or do voice recordings if you prefer that. Either way, it serves as a great mindful practice that can help draw connections, perceive your inner thoughts from a different perspective, and reduce stress levels instead of constant rumination. The second strategy would be go back to the basics. Overcoming heartbreak means taking care of your physical, emotional, and social health. So whilst taking on new hobbies, starting a new project, or socializing more can be good for your well-being, they're better towards the later stages of healing or when you are ready to take on life once you're in a better headspace. In the early stages, it's all about processing intense emotions which may take a toll on your mind and body. So things like being extra social or taking on more work might actually exhaust you further. During this time, it's important to quite literally just do the basics. Make sure you're eating nutritious meals, get plenty of sleep, daily physical activity, even if it's just a walk, and surrounding yourself with a good support system. Heartbreak takes a toll on your well-being, so it's important to show up for yourself in any way that you can. It's also a great idea to seek external support, such as your university or school counselor, financial support services such as Centrelink or university financial assistance teams, and asking for work or study adjustments where possible. Again, it might be helpful to have a trusted person or loved one to help you with these things, such as booking a phone call or completing an important form if you're really overwhelmed. The next strategy is making sure you have a really strong support system. Whether it's a family member, a friend, having people who show up for you in the 5 love languages is crucial to healing. When you're overthinking or blaming yourself, a loved one's words of affirmation can be reassuring. And when you physically can't keep up with to-do lists, a loved one can help take it off your plate. Isolation only brings about overthinking, rumination, negative self-talk, and all that hinders your ability to take care of yourself and feel loved in a vulnerable stage of life. If you don't have friends nearby or a great relationship with family members, online support groups or forums are worth considering. A therapist can also be a great support system. Another strategy would be to set boundaries. If the person who broke your heart is or isn't in your life, you may want to set boundaries that protects your well-being and headspace. This may be directly with that person or anyone associated with them. For example, it may look like limiting contact on all social media platforms or asking family members to not bring the person up. If it wasn't a person but rather an experience or tangible thing that broke your heart, you may want to remove any images that remind you of it or mute any texts or emails about it to avoid the emotional trigger. The next strategy would be see a therapist. Therapy is a safe and non-judgmental place to express your emotions, see an outside perspective, and develop practical tools to cope. A therapist can really help you unpack your emotions, explore any underlying beliefs or patterns that need to be addressed, and see the bigger picture from an objective point of view, when your emotions might be clouding your judgment. The good thing is that in New South Wales, you can source 10 free sessions as a Medicare holder by paying a visit to your GP and developing a mental health care plan. For additional sessions, therapists, psychologists can be quite expensive, charging usually $220 a session. So an alternative can be going on sites such as Psychology Today, who offer services at a reduced cost. Furthermore, I've also found that reading trauma-informed books, especially written by mental health professionals, can be a great cost-free option to go for from local libraries. Heartbreak can be the most alienating, soul-crushing experience that might leave you questioning your worth, your relationships, and the future. It almost feels like there is no way out of the black hole you're being seeped into. It may also feel like things will dauntingly never be the same. That might be true. You or your life may never be the same. But one way I like to reframe the idea is that forests bloom after plants burn. So whilst heartbreak is not something anyone wants to go through, it happens to everyone at some stage in life, and a reassuring way to cope is considering what lessons, growth, or self-discovery you might gain during the process of healing. Once you've dealt with heartbreak once, and you've developed healthy coping strategies as well as a solid support system, it makes it much easier to bounce back if you ever go through heartache again. I promise it does get better, and so will you. Just give yourself time, infinite compassion, and don't run away from your emotions. The wounds will sting as you heal them, but you will heal.